What's happening, YouTube? Anthony on Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film with a brand new PRLostGalaxy 2014 review. And today we're taking a look at one of the most hardest to find DC Multiverse figures McFarlane Toys had ever did this 2025, and one of the most hot selling female figures of the year. McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Power Girl from the McFarlane Collector's Edition wave, because it's a very hard to find collector's edition figure. And who would have thought that they would actually take a stab at Supergirl turned into Power Girl? And like, man, you know, I mean, this was one of those few female DC figures people, you know, collectors were going after, and DC fans in general, because once they heard that there was going to be a new Power Girl figure, they were going to be all in and all out on that figure really hard. And I managed to get mine, even if I had to pay an arm and a leg just to get this figure, but I did it. But now that I have Power Girl in my possession, how do I feel about it? Is she worth the hype? Is she a disappointment? A super powerful letdown? We'll see about that when we go over the figure in the review. But you got to admit, she is one fine, badass looking bitch of a, you know, female DC character and, you know, superheroine. You can even play her off as a villain if you want to, because, you know, basically it's just a more mature version of Supergirl, but, you know, which explains why she got the revealing, you know, rack and everything, you know, hence why she was always been one of the most, you know, sex symbolized female heroes or so of the DC universe, given her outfit and everything. I don't want to objectify her completely or anything, but, you know, I know about Power Girl, and especially, you know, when you think about mainstream with the comics and how you look at her in any way, yeah, she's supposed to be a very empowering and strong woman, but when you think about from the male gaze perspective, just look at her though. But anyway, let's take a look at the figure and how she is. So, front of the package featuring interchangeable hands, trading card, base stand, and her super cat. I don't even know the name of the cat, but we'll take a look at that anyway. And then Power Girl herself. Then you have the, you know, her name on here from the Power Girl Reborn comic, which they based this this Power Girl figure. Why did I say Supergirl? Supergirl, Power Girl, Supergirl. It doesn't matter. But, and yeah, here's that image of her from the comic of that, you know, Power Girl Reborn. So here we go. And then, as hard to find as this Power Girl may be, let's take a look at her. Okay, now that we got Power Girl out of the package, let's go over all of her accessories that she came with, and then we'll go over the figure, and then we are done. I'm like, man, I don't believe it. Okay, so interchangeable hands. You got all of her hands, balled fist, and a hand where, I don't know why with her hand like this, it's not like she's holding a weapon like a gun or anything, because Power Girl will never use a gun. So you got those hands. Then you got her super cat. Again, I don't know the name of the cat, but hey, nice pet accessory to have for the, you know, in our DC Multiverse collection. And also the cape is, you know, a little piece of cloth with the Kryptonian super symbol on it. So you have the cat. I mean, I mind it, but then you got the base stand, which, you know, has the silver metallic, you know, limited edition DC logo. And again, this was one of the last DC figures of 2025 to feature this 2016 DC Comics logo, because by the time we got to the new Superman movies release, they went back to the classic 80s, 90s DC Comics logo, but rebranded. So here is the base stand for Power Girl. Then you got her her trading card, which borderless, and, you know, you have the full-on picture render of the, you know, the artwork that we saw from the back of her package, and you can see that it's a good looking trading card. So here's details about Kara Zor-El, Karen Starr. So basically, Karen Starr Zor-El is Power Girl, but from a different Earth. Kara Zor-El escaped Krypton and gained astounding abilities from under Earth 2's yellow sun. Adopted by Clark Kent and Lois Lane, she was coached by Superman, her cousin, Kal-El, and yearned to become a superhero. But when Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman died after Earth 2 was invaded by Apocalypse, Kara and her friend Robin was ejected from their universe. On Prime Earth, Kara rebranded herself as technology entrepreneur Karen Starr, building an empire, building a company dedicated to bridging dimension. Okay, so that's what Power Girl has always been about. Okay, so you have the trading card telling all her, her information, what her backstory is. Now, then we get to what everybody has been wanking about. Wanting to do because again, knowing that Power Girl has always been a very sexualized female character in the DC universe by but again, she got a nice body, nice costume and everything, hair, that sort of stuff, but just gotta try not to get too weird about it. And I've been trying not to, but so I can see why she was such a hard to find figure, because you got so many collectors that were dying to have the figure for either way, either sake. But she is a very voluptuous, super badass, awesome looking character figure, and somebody I always wanted, for my DC collection. Again, I've always liked Power Girl, but I never thought I would imagine myself in the 12 to 13 years I've been doing, toy reviews, that I would actually, own a Power Girl figure. And again, I didn't have a lot of characters outside of my usual Batman and Superman stuff before. But Power Girl is a first, and again, it's a version of Supergirl from another Earth, but she's just rebranded as a different name because, again, different Earth, different timeline, different dimension, etc. But just looking at Power Girl as a character, just the way how they did her sculpting on the hair, face, makeup, and then the body, and then, her legs aren't like fully spread where you can just close the legs so that way it wouldn't feel, because at first I wasn't sure that upon looking at the figure, I wasn't sure if her legs wouldn't move, but guess what? Her legs does move, but it can only go as far. Okay, let's try not to be perverse. As far as this and this, because it feels like one of those figures, and you can tell that on the underwear and such area of the figure, it's a rubber underwear piece to the figure. And that's what I just wish that with this underwear piece, it should have never been. But McFarlane wanted to add more realistic detail to her figure, and that's what they did. And speaking of realism, they actually have, for the first time in some of my multiverse figures for DC, I have capes where they have the wires to give more posability. And well, actually, this is my first female DC hero character to have a wired cape to give more posability to the cape, which is cool and something neat and feat to have. And that's awesome. The way, and I have taken photos of Supergirl where her cape can bend certain directions and areas, and just like this, and all kinds of other directions and stuff too. Yeah, that's what made her so darn cool and so darn awesome. But though there is going to be some disappointment come later when it comes to her articulation feats for some parts of her figure, though, especially the lower area. But then when you think about Power Girl's facial likeness, when I look at her face, something about her face is like, while it's supposed to be inspired by how she looked as, as the comic book character that she is in the DC universe. But I have a feeling that when I look at the sculpting that they did on Power Girl's face sculpt for this figure, it can look a little bit like Tori Spelling, because it dawned on me, because I was just looking at this face and I was like, man, I mean, even though if Tori Spelling wasn't getting older, she would have been Power Girl for the DC universe of the 90s if they had her in, like, I don't know, the Lois and Clark Superman show with what's his name, and from the 90s, because again, Beverly Hills 90210 or Melrose Place, whatever one of the two shows she was on, and if Tori Spelling was Power Girl for the 90s back then. But heck, I mean, she does look like that. Combine that with Kelly McGinnis, when Kelly McGinnis back in the 80s when she was in Top Gun with Tom Cruise, and when I look at her, I mean, she looks like a cross between Kelly McGinnis and Tori Spelling when it comes to that likeness. And this is what I'm getting from that facial likeness of Power Girl when I look at her. Okay, now on to articulation. So of course you can turn her head around all directions and tilt her head up and down and stuff like that. And as for abdomen crunch is just this. You just bend her up and down like this, waist, from the waist. You can sort of turn her. Oh shit! Sorry. Turn the waist this way, turn her waist, turn her left and right by the waist, and that's about it. And then butterfly joints is prevalent, but it's also, again, one of those loose butterfly joints on the arms. And then elbow crunch, you got the elbow crunches like this on this arm. And the elbow crunches are good on this figure, though, on the arm. I'll give it that. And of course, you can turn her. Yeah, she's like really hot, man. I know. I get it. Spread them legs out, so you got that leg spread. But I think that's probably why the figure won't close her legs out. Close her, keep her standing like all the way. Because I don't know why you got her like this, spreading and then spreading the legs out. Since this is plastic underwear for the figure, so You cannot turn the lower legs on this figure, unfortunately, so that's a dud. And on this leg either. But now for the knee crunches, though, knee crunches you can do on this leg. Got knee crunch on this leg, and then knee crunch on this leg. You fucking pervert. Yeah, I know, calling myself a pervert because, well, unfortunately you don't have toe articulation on the feet for this figure, so you're just going to have to just leave her legs like this. But what about ankle pivots? Ankle pivots, you can just basically just do this, I guess. Yeah, that's as far as you can go with this. And that's about it. That's about it in terms of her articulation and playability. And she roughly is like, for a figure like her, she is 7 inches tall. But why do I have a feeling she's a little like an inch taller than that? I mean, let's take a Marvel Legends that I've reviewed a while ago, female wise, that's somewhat almost the same height as Power Girl, like Tatiana from Secret Wars. And look at the Secret Wars Tatiana. Nah, she's basically again, she was 7 inches for Marvel Legends, but she's 7 inches for DC because but she's almost roughly I thought, no, I guess not. Nope. No, there's no way these two women, one Marvel and one DC, will be the same height as each other. But Titania, I keep saying her damn name wrong. Titania in the Marvel Legends, she was 7 inches Marvel Legends wise, but McFarlane's DC figures are way bigger than that. But just look at her. I mean, when you stack her up with Titania, for a Marvel character and Power Girl DC, Power Girl makes Titania look like a wimp in comparison. So put Titania back, but I thought she almost looked like the same height. She almost looked like the same height as Power Girl. Now, what about my another big, long, tall female Marvel legend, 90s Fantastic Four She-Hulk? She's almost the same height as She-Hulk is almost the same height as Power Girl. But not even close. But again, you can tell the size and comparison difference from the height difference. But Power Girl is still an inch taller than She-Hulk and Titania. So there you go. Or you want somebody else? Let's pull out somebody else who's also buxom and busty, that I also have as an action figure too. How about Elvira? Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. But when you stand that NECA Toys Elvira with Power Girl, Elvira feels like a 9-inch figure. I mean, for something 8-inch, but Power Girl, who is DC, is 7 inches. But again, Elvira, especially, I think what gives it away for Elvira, of course, is her beehive and stuff. But just look how tall and dark and sexy Elvira is, as opposed to the tall, dark, and heroic Power Girl from the DC Universe. And when you think about it, Elvira, in scale comparison, is a lot tall and dark. And let's compare her from somebody not from DC that McFarlane also did. Like, let's take my Commando Spawn, for example. You see the difference? Now, at least some of these Mortal Kombat McFarlane Spawn figures, knowing Spawn is a McFarlane creation, this Power Girl figure, they're both the same height. But the difference is what gives her away is the length of her neck, and her head gives away how stubby by the neck Commando Spawn is. And no offense, Spawn, but just again, they're both the same scale. Power Girl by the neck and everything is a little longer and taller. So that's saying something. So that's the scale and comparison difference. So in my last call for this figure, it definitely was worth the hype. The only disappointment, though, you can't do any further articulation on the legs area, the lower legs, but you can, do all that, spreading them legs and all that and whatever. I don't want to know what you do with Power Girl. If any of y'all have her as a figure right now in your collection, I don't want to know. But she's a great looking figure, and basically I can see why she was also a hard to find figure, because there was high demand for Power Girl lately, and a lot of collectors were going for her back in spring of 2025, and I can understand why a lot of collectors were buying her up, because there was just something about her figure that people wanted, collectors wanted, because McFarlane basically has not been putting out enough female characters. He was just not. I mean, I do have like one Wonder Woman and one Harley Quinn. Hopefully when I get more Wonder Woman and possibly Catwoman and probably another Harley Quinn, Huntress or somebody, well, I'll probably have more female DC characters than usual, because McFarlane hasn't been doing many female characters, which is the sad part about his collector's line for DC Comics. So that's it for my review on this limited edition, this collector's edition DC Multiverse Power Girl by McFarlane. And since the license is running out as we're nearing the end, since we're, as of this video's recording, near the end of 2025, McFarlane has a couple more months until the license goes completely back to Mattel. And then we'll have brand new DC collectibles. And I don't know if I want to do those, because even though I missed out the original run of those DC Multiverse figures Mattel did in the 2010s. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time with a brand new review.